Okay, so how do you go about getting started with Outgrow quizzes? So the first thing is to focus on quiz pre-made templates. Similar to with calculators, and where you focus on pre-made templates, the same for quizzes. That's the best way to get started. So you go into the dashboard view, you click Outcome Quiz, and then you select a template instead of start from scratch, and you can review the industry you'd like or all the outcome quizzes. Choose one that you think is interesting. Let's say which evil April Fool's pranks could you, April Fool's prank could you perform, and then you click Use Template. Once you do that, you land into the Outgrow build view. Within the build view, you know you're in the build view because it says build right here on the top, in the middle, and the top left. Within this view, you see on the left the navigation, which allows you to go to any question, the welcome screen, lead generation form, or the outcomes. In the middle, a preview, and then on the right, an editor, which allows you to edit the fields you want to edit. So the first thing you should start with are the outcomes, because the outcomes help you think through how to map, what questions to create, and how to map outcomes to the question responses. So when you come into the outcomes, you can review the outcomes that already exist in the pre-made template. You can remove them by clicking the X, duplicate them, or you can add a new one by clicking the plus sign. So outcome 7 is a new outcome that I just created. So I can go in and say, I want outcome 7 to be, when you act as a telemarketer, right? So you call a friend and act as a telemarketer. When I update the field here on the right, it automatically populates here on the left, and I can see how that changes. I can come in, add media, change the image, change the subheading text, change the button text for the outcome as well. And that kind of, now I've completed, the outcome set. If I'm happy with it, I'll obviously, once I'm done with tweaking the details here, I can then move to the questions and mapping these outcomes to questions. So let's focus on how to think through which response gets which outcome. So let's go to question 1. So it says, what type of meme do you like? So let's say someone says this meme, oh my God, I never shampoo my eyebrows. A funny meme. So for this option 2, right now, the outcome for Couchman is mapped to that option. Now, I just created a new outcome, which was call a friend and act as a telemarketer, right? So simple, kind of basic prank. If I want to map that to this option, I can map that to this option as well. All I have to do is I click map to an outcome, scroll down to call a friend and act as a telemarketer option, outcome 7, which I just created. If I don't think I don't want outcome 4, like I disagree with the original mapping of 2 to 4, I don't want outcome 4 to be there, or if I want to remove outcome 4 completely, then I can just click the X, and that outcome is now removed, and I only have one. So you can have one outcome for a label, for a response, you can have no outcome, you can have multiple outcomes mapped to each response. But that's all you have to do. You keep going through the questions. Let's do question 2 as well. You see this question 2 already has multiple outcomes mapped to a response for some of them. You'd rather perform a prank that makes people annoyed, right? So then this one you might say, okay, this is a good one for, call a friend and act as a telemarketer, because that's generally a little annoying. Okay, you can keep doing that for all the outcomes. What happens at the end is if a user comes in and selects an option, let's say 2 for this question, they select 2, Couchman, that outcome gets 1 point. And based on the sum of points across the entire quiz, the one with the most points ends up showing up at the end, right? So if we go to the outcome 4, here is Couchman prank. So you act as you kind of dress up as the couch and you scare someone while they sit on them. So that's the Couchman prank. That's outcome 4. If I don't like it, I can remove it. I just click the X. But if I do like it and someone happens to answer the option such that most relative to the other outcomes, this one gets the most mappings, then this one will show as the end result. Okay, you also have the option to show multiple outcomes. So when you get into the outcome page, so you click outcome on the bottom left. If you click settings on the top right, after that, you have the option to show multiple outcomes. So right here, you can turn this on or off. And you can choose how many outcomes you want to show someone. Obviously, showing all 7 outcomes is not a great option because then the outcomes are not going to be relevant. All 7 outcomes will show for everyone. So it's no longer interesting or exciting. But you can do 2 or 3 if you'd like. And the user will be able to see multiple outcomes at the end. So that's a nice feature to use, especially when you're doing like product recommendations or where you feel like you want to show them more than just one outcome. Logic jump to outcome. Okay, so there are certain situations where you want to make sure an outcome is shown based on answers to questions. And you don't want it to be a simple point system. So here you have simple 1 point for every question. But let's say for some reason, if someone, what is the most negative feedback to your joke that you would like to take? Let's say if the answer is a punch, okay? Now, I realize this is a little like, it's a fun example. So let's say, okay, you're willing to take a punch. And you want to make sure that the people who answer with punch come with the outcome flour and hairdryer. So you add some flour to the hairdryer. That's the best prank for them if they're willing to take a punch. So you can add logic jump and say add condition. If question 7 is equal to a punch, then jump to flour and hairdryer outcome. So it's automatically going to force someone to go to that outcome. Otherwise, just take them to question 8. So you can do that. You can do other things like if question 7 is equal to a punch and question 6 is equal to I would like to prank my colleagues at work. If you really take a punch and you're pranking your colleagues at work, then do flour and hairdryer. Otherwise, go to question 8. So you can have these combinations. You can have or instead of and. You can do multiple things here, or and things like that. So you can have combinations. If you add an extra one, you can just remove it. But you can do a wide range of different things to handle the situations where certain responses have more power or impact on the result than others. And this allows you to force things. This can get complicated if you have a lot of questions with a lot of responses and you're not really sure how to set up the logic. The best thing to do in that case is to click this chat on the bottom right and then click new conversation and then message us and say, hey, I'm trying to do this. Can you help us out? What's the best way to do this? And we'll try to get back to you as fast as possible. Confirmation email. So the cool thing is when you click configure and then you click email notifications, and then this is the user notification. Once you toggle it on, after I toggle it on, you have the option to send custom emails based on the outcome. So I can toggle this one on. And then for each outcome, I can trigger a completely different email. So this is the outcome 2 email. This is the outcome 1 email. And then within the outcome 1 email, I can leverage variables like this outcome variable that tells them that's your outcome. You can also leverage some of their question responses saying, I saw that you like, and then I click add variable, question 1, need, right? So you basically incorporated the variables that they've selected from their questions and made this more personalized of an email by tailoring it to their outcome and to their question responses. So this is a very powerful way to segment and message your users.